start it off with the main event. Aljamain Sterling, the champion, coming in at minus 270 against the challenger Sean O'Malley, sitting at plus 215. Over under 4.5 rounds, plus 115 for the over, minus 185 for the under. The Bantamweight Championship of the World. Aljamain Sterling looking to defend it for the fourth time in a row. 3 successful title defenses of Henry Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw, and Petr Yan. 2 of them by split decision. And then the second round TKO against TJ Dillashaw. 28 years of age for Sean O'Malley. You can see the height difference there. 4 inches in height difference, but only 1 inch in reach. Aljo's got those long arms. And Sean O'Malley usually uses his length pretty dang well throughout the fight. We'll see if he can do that here against Aljamain Sterling, who most likely will want to take the fight to the ground. That's pretty much what everyone knows. Striker versus grappler battle here. Aljamain Sterling's been on quite the run since he got KO'd in the first round against Marlon Moraes back in 2017. Hasn't lost since then. But if you look at how Sean O'Malley fights, he could pull off some type of knockout like Marlon Moraes did. Timing and precise accuracy. If Aljo shoots a sloppy takedown, that knee is on the board. But if Aljo gets him to the ground, it might be a long night for Sean O'Malley. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, this is such a unique matchup because, you got a great lead up to the fight. You got Sean O'Malley, who everybody tunes in to watch. Everybody follows him on social medias and want to see what he's doing. And Aljamain Sterling, a guy who a lot of people are, thinking is one of the most talented 135ers of all time. I mean, he's got the full package. His striking has progressed over the years to go along with that grappling heavy and wrestling game. And dude, I mean, he's a wizard on the ground. The way he submitted Corey Sandhagen in the first round, took his back, and got the rear naked choke. He got Petr Yan. He had back control forever in that fight. Like, if he gets your back, he's probably one of the toughest fighters to get away from. To get out of that position on Aljo, it just seems impossible at times. But Sean O'Malley is slick, man. He is like underrated, I think, in not so much the grappling, but you see, like, against Petr Yan, when he get a takedown, O'Malley was so creative on getting back up, and he knew where to, put his weight to get back to his feet. And when he gets back to his feet, he makes you pay. We saw it in the Petr Yan fight. That knee up the middle that cut Petr Yan open. There was another knee in there somewhere that kind of stunned Petr Yan a little bit. And I think that's going to be the big weapon that if Sean O'Malley wants to find a big KO, I think it's going to be on a knee on one of Aljo's entries. Some crazy shot like that. But for Aljo, man, I don't know if he necessarily wants or needs to prove anything to people about his striking. But if he tries to strike with Sean O'Malley too long, it's just, there's so many possibilities for Sean to find a big shot or a knockout or hurt him, because, I mean, Sean is ridiculously good on the feet. I know people don't want to give him credit because of what he looks like and, some of the stuff he says and does. But, I mean, pound for pound, he's one of the better strikers in the UFC, regardless of what anybody says. So makes for a great matchup, makes for an interesting matchup. In this fight, I think we're going to see a little bit of everything. I think we're going to see some on the feet. We're going to see some on the ground. It's all just going to come down to how good Sean O'Malley's defense and submission defense is. And I think that's going to make or break his game. I'd love to see Sean O'Malley win. I'd love to see him pull it off. I like a good underdog. I think the UFC would like Sean O'Malley in there. But I am going to pick Aljo. I just think the more well-roundedness and the strength and the size is maybe going to give Sean a little bit of problems. Because I look back to the Yan fight especially, and I see Yan get the takedowns and how strong he was compared to Sean at times. And then I think if that was Aljo, like, Aljo's better grappler than Yan. He's bigger, he's taller, and he's a super strong dude with an incredible squeeze. So overall, I think it could be a really close fight. I think it could go to decision, but I'm going to stick with Aljo here.
This is a very intriguing matchup. I think this is probably one of the more excited I've been for a fight like this, because it's the epitome of a striker versus grappler, and the grappler is the champion, and you got a guy like Sean O'Malley with the big personality coming in here with the amazing striking, and he's going up against a guy who has shown he will just stand and strike with you. Like, he's not just like takedown or bust type of guy. So I'm interested to see how long Aljamain Sterling will look to keep this fight on the feet and how soon he shoots for a takedown. As for Sean O'Malley, I think he comes in here with a good game plan. If he doesn't come in here with a good game plan, I'd be very shocked because it seems like he goes into fights very well prepared and he learns from his past performances. And the coaching with him until Tim Welch seems to be very good because he's got that like one guy that's like pretty much just designated to him, and they go in there with a good game plan more times than not. Against Petr Yan, he got taken down a bunch. I think that's what most people are going to look at in this fight and be like, okay, if Petr Yan could take him down 6 times, then what is Aljamain Sterling going to do to him? But I don't think he went in that fight thinking Petr Yan was going to take him down at all. I mean, he looked at it probably like it's going to be a kickboxing battle. And Yan lands the 6 takedowns. That's really where he had the success, was like with the takedowns on the feet. Sean O'Malley looked to be the more active fighter and a little bit just all around landed the better shots. That's ultimately why he won the fight, because it obviously wasn't what he did on the ground. So he wins the fight that way. I don't want to say I throw that performance away as far as the takedowns go for Sean O'Malley, but I also give him somewhat of a pass because he knows going into this fight, okay, I beat Aljo on the feet probably 9 out of 10 times, and he's going to be ready for the shots. If he's not ready, okay, he gets taken down. I think he just doesn't have to give up his back. If he doesn't give up his back, so if he gets taken down and he doesn't give up his back, I think he has a good chance of getting back to his feet and doing some more work on the feet. Because Aljo doesn't have some crazy top pressure when he's on top of you. It's just get the backpack, throw it in. He's not going anywhere. If he doesn't have that body triangle when he's on top, he hasn't been that great at keeping people there. Sean O'Malley is long. He's going to be able to use his length to create separation and get back to his feet if he's on his back. If Aljo does get the backpack in, I think Sean O'Malley's just got to survive, do the best he can to get out of it. But these are all things that I think they know. And going into this fight against Aljo has been kind of thrown into this spot to where he's coming off a title defense against Henry Cejudo 3 months ago, back in May. And something's telling me like it's his time. It's his time to lose because he's been on this long win streak, hasn't lost in nearly 6 years. He's had 3 title defenses, 2 of them very close fights, and one of them was to a guy with not a broken arm, but basically one-arm fighter. He had a shoulder that popped out with any kind of movement. It was over from the jump. That was basically, I don't want to say a free title defense, but if anybody knew about that shoulder injury that wasn't a part of TJ Dillashaw's camp, like, okay, they probably tell him like you can't fight because it just pops out immediately when he starts to fight. So I look at this one like I don't really have much confidence in Aljo to go out there and just smoke him because he just hasn't done that. He just really hasn't done that against these guys at the top of the division. Okay, you can look at the Corey Sandhagen round 1 submission. That's the only time he's done it in his entire UFC career. I don't see him going out there and submitting Sean O'Malley right off the bat. So I think Sean O'Malley has a good chance of racking up a lot of strikes on the feet. I think he'll be a little bit more calculated with everything because he doesn't want to open himself up for the takedowns. But with him picking his shots, they're going to be way more significant than Aljamain. He just can't allow himself to get out-volumed on the feet because he can't be too timid, but he also can't allow himself to get out-volumed because Aljo will have that freedom on the feet to be like, okay, I can fall to my back and it's not really a big deal. But for Sean, he's just got to fight smart, pick his shots, and I think he wins. He could knock him out with something, could catch him with something. Later in the rounds, we've seen Aljo, I don't want to say gas, but get sloppy with takedowns and leave his head out there. Cejudo landed a big knee. I believe it was round 4 or 5 that, if Cejudo's landing knees on you, like Cejudo's like 5'1", 5'2", Sean O'Malley's, I would find it hard to believe Sean O'Malley's not going to land some type of knee at some point in this fight with the way that Aljo shoots takedowns. So I'm on Sean O'Malley this week. That's just the way I'm going to go about it because I just don't think the chalk is worth it for Aljo. Just the way that where he's at in his career, you could say he's in his prime, but I could also see this start to be the decline just because he's pretty much done fighting at 135. Most likely he's going to go up to 145. He's been champion. He's gotten pay-per-view points, the past 3 fights. So he's going to be getting probably a solid one here. Going up to 145 because he doesn't want to make the weight anymore. I think he's probably moving on to bigger and better things. Doesn't need to win as much. I think Sean O'Malley wants it, and I think he's going to get it this week, so I'm on him.
Yeah, and, I don't know if I know I picked Aljo, but I don't know if I would be confident to lay that price at all. I mean, because he is a bigger favorite. And the one thing that would concern me is, just like you said, this is probably his last fight at 135. I think he had an interview with TMZ, and he said that he all but said that he is done with this division. He's going to move up and challenge Volk, and then fight like one more time after that, 1 or 2 more times, and then probably be done. And if he does have his sights set on 145, I don't know if he even wanted this fight so soon. I mean, if you remember back when he beat Henry Cejudo, he talked about fighting Sean O'Malley, and he seemed frustrated. They wanted to make it this soon, just a couple of months away. Yeah. To whereas Sean O'Malley's been training for Aljo for, since the Yan fight. He knew this was next. Eventually, he's been training for this style for almost a year, and I think he's going to have that kind of things on his side and to his advantage. So it is so interesting, though. Like, the community's so split on this. You're either all in on Sean or you're all in on Aljo, and I understand both sides for sure. It just feels like one of those fights that we're going to talk about for a long time. Like, something crazy is going to happen. Just like title fights on pay-per-views, like Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards, stuff like that. And it just feels like one of those fights. So I think we're in for a treat this Saturday.
Yeah, that was a long-winded answer by me, but this is coming from an Aljo supporter, like a guy that was on him against Cejudo, on him against TJ. Like, I was vying for Aljo against Cejudo more than like most people were as an underdog. Like, I thought he was going to win that fight. He go out there and won it. But I just feel like it's tough to say. Like, I just feel like, but there's something about this. Is like, go back to like Kamaru Usman type, where you win you defend your title a good amount of times, you start to feel invincible. You start to feel like, all right, these guys got nothing for me. And that's when that one guy like Leon Edwards catches you with something and you're out of there. And then you try to defend it again and you lose again. I just think that's where Aljo could be at, because it's not like he's been super dominant as a champion, So,
yeah. And you watch, the last thing I'm going to say too on Aljo, and you watch the Embedded episode, and like you talked about, maybe he's getting a little invincible, feeling a little invincible, a little bit cocky. You watch his training sessions, and he's got like 100 people around the mat watching, filming, Snapchat, taking all their pictures. And they switch over to Sean O'Malley, and he's in the gym, just him and Tim Welch, the only two in there, just training his ass off. Like, you almost feel like, Sean's probably hungrier here. Like, he wants this. He's never touched gold before. Aljo's already thinking about moving up. So it makes it interesting. And then the last, 5 opponents Aljo's faced, you got Henry Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw, Petr Yan, Corey Sandhagen, and Pedro Munoz. All of those guys besides Corey are small, small. Pedro Munoz, Yan, Dillashaw. They're short guys. Fair. And then the only guy who's not is Corey Sandhagen, and that one ended really soon. We didn't really get to see what Corey would look like throughout the duration of that fight. So it's interesting to see Sean O'Malley's size here too. Like, I think that could make for a difficult fight for Aljo too. So it's going to be so fun, dude. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. And he puts on that facade that he's not like a focused type fighter, but he definitely is. Like, Sean O'Malley is one of the most dialed dudes you'll ever see.
It showed against Yan. Yeah.
As far as health and like focus and everything goes. So
for sure.
Looking forward to it.